corpse dicks. Japanese audiences politely confused about Spinal Tap. Mark and Bradley gritting their teeth, desperate to find one good thing about this episode's wretched, wet turd of a film. All this and the secret origin story of why written-off listeners are called mates. Hold tight. This is gonna be a hell of an episode. On Written Off. Welcome to the show. Good to have you. For those new here, oh, hey, hi. Nice to meet you. Oh, I like your shoes. Where'd you get those? Written Off is your hands-down favorite podcast all about, films. My name's Bradley Freeman, and together with my co-host Mark Tasker, we brazenly suggest ways these, films kinda, sorta, could have been better. Someone was asking me the other day why we call our listeners mates. And the thing is, I thought I'd cut it out by mistake when I was editing maybe episode 1 or 2. I thought it was lost in time, sent to the podcast cutting room floor, but no. While going through one of the original recordings, I actually found it. So here it is, added for your enjoyment? ? The secret origin story of mates. How are you, mates? That's what we're calling everyone now.
Mates.
Because I was thinking like listener, that's fine. Or like friends, that's also fine. Or like buddies seems too condescending. So I'm in New Zealand, you're in the UK. We both know the term mate. So I'm going to call all our listeners mates from now on. So hey, mates, thank you for joining us. With me, as always, is my fantastic co-host, Mark. Mark, how you doing?
Very good. I don't know if you know this, but in the north of England, people use buddy a lot.
You're joking?
Yeah, buddy. You're right, buddy. No, you're fine, buddy. The other thing they use is ducky.
What?
So if I go to the supermarket, do you need a bag, ducky? They'll say to me. And some people around here use the word cock or cocker.
Ducky I can use for male and female?
I didn't think so. But the postman, because the postman came the other day, and as you know, my wife has quite a distinctive name. And he said, "Is that your name?" And I said, "No, it's my wife's name." He said, "Bloody hell." I said, "Yeah, she's American." He said, "Yeah, thought so. See you later, ducky." That's how our conversation went. If mates makes it past this episode, I'll be shocked.
Oh, don't you challenge me.
So, but I mean, I think mate is the go-to for should be the go-to.
Well, then it's mate for us now on this podcast.
Yeah, that'll be on all the badges and t-shirts, which will definitely be selling.
Mates. Yep. Man, what an episode we've got for you this time around because we're dealing with a comedy, which I think this is our first comedy movie. And look, just putting it out there, Mark and I are not comedians. You may have guessed that. You may have figured it out from our voices and what we've said in the past. But when it comes to comedy movies, I mean, there's a couple I enjoy, there's a couple you enjoy, but I wouldn't say either of us are like, oh, comedy's my jam.
So which would you say then? Let's say straight up comedy, not comedy romance, not comedy drama, because you got your Groundhog Days and things like that, but what's your straight up comedy that you enjoy?
It's cliche because it's the one, but it's Airplane, or AKA Flying High for us, for you and me, for us in the Commonwealth. But yeah, I mean you can't fucking beat Airplane. It's a feat of film genius. And I actually read the book, the making of book, that the Zucker brothers or Team Zucker, they wrote the book. It came out a couple of years ago. Just their comedic insight to what would be funny and what is funny. Yeah, very illuminating.
Yeah, we used to watch that film. I may have told you this before. Geography class, our teacher, Mr. Webster, who I don't know if he's still with us, but...
I am still here, you young wee lads. I remember you, Mark. The boy who thought Nicaragua was a city somewhere in fucking Belfast. No wonder I developed a crippling glue-sniffing addiction. Oh, it's the spot.
he would put it on the last lesson before Christmas.
I can see fairies on their assholes.
So I don't know if it's the same in New Zealand, but that like week before Christmas is a wash, basically, right? So he would put on Airplane.
It's December. I don't give a fuck. Santy's on his way. Actually, one day I hope he chokes Mark out with a fucking microphone cord. That numpty prick. But anyway, what movies on VHS do they have here in the teacher's lounge? Debbie Does Dallas. I think I'll take that one home for myself. Mac and Me. Christy Rive standards. Look at that. Airplane.
So he'd put on the video, of course. And as to my memory, I think he put it on probably the first 3 years I had him as a teacher anyway. But you'd only watch, 40 minutes? Because that's how long the lesson is. So you'd only get to the bit where the girl streaks across the camera.
Right, kids, fuck off out of here. I need to attempt a geography lesson with me own with the rewind and play buttons.
And that would pretty much be as far as you'd get. And I think until I was about 16, that's as far as I ever got with it, because I never got further than that because that's all we could watch within the span of our geography lesson. But yeah, I would say Airplane. This Is Spinal Tap is probably the one I've seen the most. And I'll tell you something, which you may or may not find interesting. I actually attended, I don't think it was the premiere, but it was the premiere week of This Is Spinal Tap in Japan. Believe it or not, it wasn't released in Japan, in cinemas. It wasn't released in Japan until either 16 or 17.
You're joking me.
No, I'm not.
What the fuck?
I saw it in Shinjuku. I saw it, my friend was visiting actually. Some of the people there were wearing like rock and metal t-shirts, which I thought was quite cute. I don't know if this is for sure or not, but I don't know if they thought it was a comedy because there was very, very little laughing in it. I don't want to put thoughts into their head, but I think a lot of them thought it was real because Spinal Tap do concerts. They have played concerts. It's possible that people have seen them in amongst the like YouTube melange and the songs themselves are quite good. So they may have thought this is a documentary on the band. The only time they laughed was at the very end where they're playing in Japan because it turns out they're popular in Japan. That's the only time they laughed in the whole film. So whether or not the subtitles didn't, it was very curious. You know, I'm chuckling all the way through in spite of the fact I've seen it, 20 times. But yeah, no laughter until that point. And a lot of slightly confused faces at the end.
Mates, typically Western comedies either don't come to Japan or they come super late. Fucking 3 years later, I remember Step Brothers. I was in Japan and it came out and some Japanese friends were like, let's go see it. I'm like, yo, that's 3 years old. What the fuck?
Yeah.
And because it's comedy doesn't really match the Japanese sense of comedy. So there's that. But I remember, this is so weird. I can't believe I still remember this. Transformers 2, is it Rise of the Fallen or Revenge of the Fallen? Whatever the fuck that movie is. I'm sure we've said this before. A Japanese cinema going audience is silence. It's a respect thing. It's quiet. So I'm watching this movie in Japan. It's quiet, but then the cinema erupts. It's not hyperbole. Fucking erupts like popcorn shaking, drink spilling.
Really?
What, Mark, with your understanding of the Japanese psyche, what kind of joke would rattle these cinemaphiles and get them to just guffaw out loud?
I mean, I'm trying to remember. I don't think I've even seen that.
Well, good on you.
Well, there are scenes where like robots are pissing on each other, aren't there? Things like that. I don't know. It would be maybe bodily functiony joke, maybe.
Well,
oh, wow.
your Japanese populace so well. It's very close to it. It's a scene where like one of the human characters, somewhat of the comedic sidekick, tasers himself in the balls.
Right. Yeah.
By mistake.
Yeah.
And that just, the cinema was alight with glee at this 20-something white dude just tasering himself in the nuts.
Yeah. So maybe going back to my Spinal Tap, maybe they just, because the humor in that is a bit specific. I mean, I like it. So yeah, maybe it just wasn't ball electrifying enough for them. To be fair, as you'll discover during the course of this conversation, I don't like comedy films generally. So I definitely didn't see any in Japanese cinema apart from that one. And in Germany, No, I never saw a comedy. Their taste in humor is very similar. That exact scene probably got the same laugh in Germany, I would have thought.
Well, as we're talking
Ooh.
about comedy, hold tight, folks, because, folks, mates,
Come on.
look, come on. Fucking get with the program. Look, it's summer or not, depending on where you live and if you actually give two shits about this intro. So coming in flaccid like a corpse's dick, we're taking a long, insert easy slow motion joke here at 2017's Baywatch.
Ooh.
Now, as you might remember, for Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Mark, I took care to tell our mates out there that we didn't intend to tarnish or ruin anyone's love for that film. But
yeah,
look, for this one, honestly, do you think we need it?
No, definitely not.
Great. Look, hey, every film has its fans. I'm sure this one too. But do you think there are enough people out there and enough time has passed for there to be a sincere love for this?
Yeah.
And he's one of them, folks. Here we go. Closet Baywatch fan, Mark.
Cribbing slightly off another podcast isn't, IMDb reviews are always quite interesting, aren't they? One person here says, I have a feeling that most of the people who rated this movie poorly haven't seen the movie at all or just have no sense. Great looking and funny cast. Plot is secondary. Yeah, I think that's fair. It's not a James Bond movie, but the drama is real.
And I hope real is in all caps, but the drama is real.
I'll be honest, I didn't.
Yep.
You suggested this. And the emphasis is on the word you.
Mates, the look Mark just fucking gave me, suggested this. Like, you rancid hot fuck. You absolute, I'm sorry to use the C word, you cadaver of a human being to suggest this film. Yes, I did. Yeah.
I haven't, most of these films just go by me without me even noticing. I kind of remembered people talking about it being released. And, as somebody who in England, the original Baywatch series was on like about 5 o'clock on a Sunday evening for us. Saturday evening for us. So that was on. And then after that was Gladiators. So,
Gladiators.
People my age, everyone knows what Baywatch was. And you tiny bit titillating at a weird time of day. You sort of put it on and then hope that no one comes in the room. And if they do, I guess you pretend you're invested in the drama, that kind of thing. I didn't really think about it coming out. When I went to watch it, I didn't know what rating it had received in America or what they were going for, let's say.
Right.
Within a minute, I was really, really quite taken aback by, first of all, it's incredibly forced, but I was very taken aback by, obviously use of language and incredibly frequent quote unquote jokes. Yeah, it was truly, truly grim.
I selected this movie and then, look, I watched 30 minutes of this movie originally and I turned it off and never ever went back.
Yeah.
So I fucked myself on this one too. But we wrote it down. This was going to be the film. And a day later, I was wandering around the house thinking, oh man, look, our deal with this show is that we deal with movies, perfectly average movies that could benefit from just a simple change here or there. I don't think this fits our manifesto. And I was just about to text Mark back like, nah,
maybe not. Yeah,
maybe not. And he'd already succumbed.
Yeah.
So that's how dedicated the man is, folks.
He's dedicated, isn't he? I still don't know where the fuck Nicaragua is though, do ya? Oh, there goes the crew.
To lift the curtain a little bit here, basically Brad's in New Zealand and I'm in England. We've got, various things on DVD or Blu-ray or whatever, but you'd be unsurprised to hear neither of us own a physical version of Baywatch. So we have to try and find stuff that we can both watch quickly and easily. And generally it's obviously Netflix or Disney Plus. And so Brad did a little research and worked out that this was one of the ones that we were both lucky enough to receive. So as soon as we finished recording the last episode, I put this one on. Yeah, and obviously immediately regretted it.
Directed by Seth Gordon, working from a screenplay by Mark Swift and Damien Shannon, which was based on a story by Jay Scherick, David Ronn, Thomas Lennon, and Robert Ben Garant. Now, sorry for the easy shade throwing here, but look, it's telling about your film when it takes 4 people to come up with a story. Yes, I did air quotes. I'm officially the worst kind of person. And B, when the 2 writers who then go on to create the screenplay aren't part of that fucking 4 group in the first place.
Yeah, very weird.
Doesn't make any sense to me so much I can't even spit out a coherent sentence or pronounce properly. Fuck.
No, it's true. It's very weird. And I was, as I generally do when we start these conversations, I start doing my research. So I did have a look who the writers were.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I like to do that. One of the writers is credited as having written Norbit or having contributed to Norbit. So that tells you all you need to know about his comedy chops. When you watch it, it definitely, above all the other films that we've seen so far, it feels like a film that was written by multiple people at different times, that A person wrote the first 5 minutes, B person contributed this. It really, really does, because the second, like, let's say the middle third does feel a bit like a Baywatch episode, you know, and I'm sure purposely so. And then maybe that's the one that was written or partly written by the original series creators, I'm not sure, but that does have the whiff of it.
The basic summary of this movie, because I know you're all dying, mates, to hear this fucking thing. Basically, lifeguard Mitch Buchanan and his team must take down a drug lord to save their beach. Look, that's it. Lifeguards.
Oh, right. Okay.
Stopping drugs. That is it. Because, I mean, this film has a tenuous grasp at best at what a fucking narrative framework is.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm surprised there's no sharks in this fucking movie.
Yeah, well, maybe they were saving that for the apparently still in development sequel.
So what does work, actually, Mark? This would be fun. What works in this movie for you? Let's go. Let's get into it.
Hit me. Come on. Hoo-wah.
You should never be able to go wrong with the try. You know, again, I mentioned Police Academy not long ago, and the first bit is a bit Police Academy-ish. You've got new recruits who are having to do a little test to see if they can get into the club, right? So it has the Police Academy set up at the beginning, and I think in theory, that's probably how you would do it. I don't have a massive issue with that concept. Delivery, of course, but concept, I think, is reasonably fair.
I think every episode of this show, somewhere in the bio or the episode information, I'm going to have a quote from you that I'm going to call it the poster quote. I think so far, I don't have a massive issue with it. It's as good as we're going to get.
only the one concept. That's it. Beyond that, no, I think, no, that's it.
Okay, well, I'll take up the slack. The opening is effective. Like the very, very, I think it's less than 1.5 minutes. It sets up the location, the basic threat of the ocean.
Quickly, before I forget, this is set in California, right?
Yes.
Why is the sun rising over the sea in California? Because as far as I know, the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. Literally, the first thing I thought was, hang on a minute, where are they? I mean, now, to be fair, it doesn't specifically say California, but straight off the bat, fuck off.
This is meant to be set in the same fictional universe that the TV show was set in, right? So that location was California. I know they shot in Florida.
If it's obviously the east coast of Florida, fine, but it definitely isn't, is it? So fuck off. Because sorry, you were saying the setup is good. Yeah.
It's not going to be, of course. I don't know if I'll be able to get through this. Yeah, so like the opening is effective. That first minute and a half, I was like, here we go. Like it's photographed nicely. You know, The Rock does some heroic rock saving. Good. So I like that. I tell you this, the villain played by Priyanka Chopra, if that's how you pronounce her name. I hope I did it right.
Famous, isn't she? Yeah.
I like that this movie, against all odds, goes out of its way to feature a different kind of baddie. And I think she does a fucking great job.
She's a pro, yeah, definitely.
The way she sells the line, I'm not a Bond villain. Well, yet. Just, I had a chuckle at that.
Yeah.
Any scene that she was in, I was like, oh, now I am interested. So my poster quote would be, come for Priyanka Chopra and leave as soon as she's gone.
Yeah. Well, what about the comedy sidekick character? What's his name? I can't remember his name. I can't remember. I did look it up. I did honestly look it up.
You mean classic character name Ronnie Greenbaum?
Yeah,
played by actor John Bass.
Actor played by
shit. The shade you're throwing.
Suspected human John Bass.
Well, so you liked him then?
I enjoyed every moment he was on screen.
You like the bit where he gets his dick stuck in a plank of wood. Yeah.
It's a funny, because we just before we started, we talked, no, during this conversation, because I've already lost time, we talked about Airplane. And,
Yeah.
I'm not a massive fan of those kinds of jokes, of course. But if you'd have had that very briefly as a joke and they both look down and go, all right. But that scene seems to go on
Forever.
Yeah, for hours. And it's like, now you can have a look at it if you want. Now the girl's going to feel him up. Now Rock's going to feel him up. Now everyone's going to stand around like, all right, we got it. What? Why are we humiliating this person? And his reaction to it is bizarre. Everyone's reactions to everything again, maybe I'm a Puritan, I don't know, but my reaction to everything in this was like, why are you reacting like that? This is not all right on any level. Again, an issue that I had all the way through is not, as I said, not knowing when to let the when to let the jokes.
We're all doing air quotes tonight, folks.
Yeah, just anytime we say the word joke or comedy, insert air quotes. Whenever they don't know how to edit the jokes, they don't know when to let them go at any stage at all. There are a lot of running jokes in this.
Your millennial is showing, because the kids these days, the Generation Alpha,
yeah,
they're all about that cringe humor, and cringe humor is suspending something indefinitely, so the cringe just implodes.
There's a TV series which probably a lot of people watch. I think You Should Leave on Netflix, which I adore, and I think I like cringe humor. But the timing of cringe humor is really important. Like, for example, if that had been a running gag, maybe I could have got it. Or if
his dick.
Well, it is basically, isn't it? I mean, there's a scene later where he's like showering and she looks down, suggesting he's got a massive cock. Okay, that's fine. Anyway, regardless, and as you've already alluded to, the painful dead man cock scene. Anyway, sorry. The question was, what works? Okay, right. You think the opening. I think the opening setup as an idea works, yeah. But how many songs are played in this film? I tried to look it up, but in that first minute and a half, there must be snippets of 8-9 songs are played. It's a trend, isn't it, at that time?
Is it?
Yeah, if you look at the first Suicide Squad or any of those kinds of, it's just like, here's a bit of this song, here's a bit of that song, here's a bit of this song, here's a bit of that. I mean, literally that quick.
Right.
They must have spent a lot of their money on royalties, because it's just like, have a bit of this one, have a bit of it. And I think they think they're making it for the TikTok generation, who apparently have no concentration span. So bit, which I think is a little bit rude to that generation, because I don't think that's true. But anyway.
Listeners, friends, mates, when Mark invokes the first Suicide Squad, you know he ain't happy.
Or birds of prey, or blah blah blah, whatever they're called.
So, moving on to our next topic, what was the first mistake this film made, Mark, writing-wise? We've already covered some of it, but here comes some more.
Like, I always think with this, like, you got to break it down into like narrative.
Break it down.
Well, it's basically what it does. Narrative, dialogue. I hate, obviously, the interactions between all the characters. So is that a writing fault? I guess. This is an old-fashioned way, but a very schizophrenic film. You know what I mean when I use that phrase. It's very odd, and as we discussed, you'd only watch the first 30 minutes. And the first 25, 30 minutes are, Zac Efron being an attractive man, Daddario being an attractive woman, the tryouts, we know where this is going. Funnily enough, if it hadn't have had the comedy, I would have probably been all right with it. Or if it hadn't been, okay, let's put it another way. If it hadn't been trying so fucking hard, I wouldn't have had such a massive problem with it. But it's trying so hard to get you to laugh. And as I mentioned to you, to have a semi-erection, you've got to have both at the same time. And then it stops. And then it's like, okay, right, now that part of it's finished. And The Rock is now going to do his serious action man stuff for a bit. The comedy sidekick is pushed out for a large portion of that section, isn't he? He basically disappears. And we're left with the other guys who are the serious ones. It's suddenly, oh, okay, but I'm in the mood, or well, I'm not, but you primed me for this, and now it's this. And it made me think it is a very difficult thing to do, to get action and comedy balance. There are a lot of examples where they've got it right, but I think to set your film up so clearly in one direction and then handbrake it into something else, it's jarring, and then it's really boring. As much as I hated the first 30 minutes, I wouldn't say it was boring. infuriating, but not boring. And then it just goes into really, really dull, quite earnest. And that's one thing about American comedy I don't like. You got the cringe, you got the slapstick, and then you've got earnest. No, fuck off. I'm not going to be earnest now. You haven't earned it at all. Obviously, we're supposed to have a Zac Efron redemption arc. And by the way, I think he's all right in this. I do. I think he's left with a shitty role, but I think he's all right in it.
I like him. He's good. And Jesus, I mean, it goes without saying, what a specimen of a man in this. Wow. He's subsequently said that he was crashing pretty hard on
I was going to say
fluid reduction pills.
He subsequently said he almost died to try and get that body.
And it's so weird that The Rock never calls that out. The man is a chunk of stone. The Rock never, ever says, you're looking good.
He's too busy shaming the police officer played by, he's the bad guy in Aquaman, isn't he?
Yahya Abdul-Mateen II.
I like.
Yeah, really. Oh, God,
yeah, and I'm
good.
sitting there thinking, oh, for fuck's sake. Like when he turned up, I was like, oh, leave him alone. A lot of body shaming. We'll talk about that later.
It's not a writing thing, but the first indication that you're in for a real shit show of a ride is the movie title. So like The Rock goes and saves a guy from the ocean, and then it's suddenly, which is all shot really well, and it's quite dramatic and it's quite effective. And suddenly it cuts to this bizarre angle that seems way too close to Dwayne Johnson's face. And just all this sudden CGI up in our junk. There's dolphins kind of flipping around the title. It's like, oh, no. But honestly, for me, I'm going to try and be the responsible one. Hold tight, mates. I don't know why, but all the currently operating lifeguards are super possessive of the beach and of the position of lifeguardery in general.
You're very weird.
I feel like right off the bat, that's wrong because it makes them weirdly elitist.
Yeah.
Also, why the fuck does like half a city want to be a lifeguard for?
Yeah, no. I didn't get that either.
There's no reason except maybe strong interest in getting skin cancer. I know it's a comedy, so you can add some caveats and some kind of like, oh, okay, sure, whatever. But all of the lifeguards are just like, this is lifeguard. I just would like an explanation or a reason. Like at least, fuck it, let's just keep referring to Airplane this whole entire podcast. But every character in that, their role, whether it's Ted the pilot or Leslie Nielsen's doctor, it's very clear what their roles are, and even their responses make sense. Like, well, Ted just did that because he's a pilot, or Elaine, who's a flight attendant. That would be kind of a flight attendant's response. But these lifeguards are responding as though they're not lifeguards. And we might as well get into it now. I'm glad the movie tries to address the cop aspect of it all. Zac Efron gets a lot of decent lines about like, what the fuck? They're trying to be cops, which even that is fine for me, but you've got to have a build up. You've got to have scenes that keep escalating, that make these characters try to want to be cops on the beach. They're just saying endlessly like,
well, if we don't do it.
But if you don't do it.
Zac Efron is 100% right. But he's like, what are we doing? No. Like, if you want to look at it, there's that undercurrent of the system doesn't work. We're going to have to do it. We've got to take action into our own hands.
Don't give it that much credit, because no.
But some of the people that wrote this would have had would have listened to a podcast or something. Joe Rogan.
No, I won't even give him that. No, because none of the characters are operating within normal parameters. This beach, of which is this square kilometer or this whatever the fuck, once people enter this area, they are ours.
I don't know why the insistence upon it as well. Like,
yeah,
I don't know how many times the word police, cops, not police, not every interaction with the police guy is along those lines. And who cares about this? The original series, they make a couple of jokes about it. The original series was just trying to catch low-level people.
Yeah.
Fine.
If we're having a drink at a bar and you go, hey, they're making a Baywatch movie, I'm going to groan. But you say it's going to be an R-rated comedy with The Rock and Zac Efron. I'm like, oh, that is enough to get me to go to the cinema. But this film continuously slaps your hand away and thrusts dick in your face.
I'm just trying to think if I've actually seen any Rock films in the cinema. And I think the answer is no. I think the only one would probably be Mummy Returns. That's the only one where he appears that I've actually paid. I can't think of another one.
And that scorched you enough that you never went back again, huh?
you messaged and said, oh, it turns out it made money. And it should have done, because 2017, with the actors it has in it, very popular, will definitely get a certain subsection of people to go and see it for sure, especially obviously in the clothing she's wearing or not wearing. There are a lot of reasons why people would have gone to see it. What they'd have thought as they came out, not sure. But yeah, that insistence upon mentioning the police every 2 seconds, it's like, you don't need to, we don't care.
Is Baywatch like a term? Like Baywatch is only for this small patch of Californian beach, whatever the fuck. Why is Baywatch the elite of the elite? I'm so confused by this. I would have settled for an opening crawl. Just something that would have said like, of all the beaches in America, this one's the most dangerous. This one requires athlete level lifeguards for these reasons.
Yeah.
And as such, it's called Baywatch.
Why do they need good PR? Why do they need a former Olympic swimmer? Like, set that up. Say, look, we're getting shut down. Say that at the very beginning. Unfortunately, due to budget cuts, we're getting shut down. So we need to have a competition and we need to publicize it. And Efron needs, I mean, did I miss that?
There is a line from Captain Thorpe, played by Rob Hubel, who mentions, government funding is cut, yada, yada, yada. They need Matt Brody in there.
That needs to be up front.
Put that right in the beginning. By the 5-minute mark, my eyes have glazed over like fucking hot cross buns.
Yeah, if you're going to do it, but have Paul Reiser or the guy from Ghostbusters. I always forget his name, the ginger guy. You definitely know his name. What's the name of the guy?
William Atherton?
Yeah, we'll have William Atherton.
I can pull that out of my ass.
Actually have William Atherton. Have someone there going, there you go. Like that's...
that sound effect.
That's something we all know and we've previously enjoyed. But they don't do that. Yeah, go on.
Sorry, no, keep going. Go for it. I'm not going to stop you.
We're getting to the last question you usually ask, but in terms of how you could make it better, have that as the whole thing. Beach versus beach. Have a rival beach. Like, fucking, it's right there. Just do that.
Yeah. I never actually thought of that, but just as soon as you were speaking, that popped in my head. Yeah. You can have your sex appeal, which is part of Baywatch. You can have your comedy. You can have your cheese. But yeah, like if it's a rival Baywatch or if it's like the Baywatch Championships.
And that's kind of where I thought it was probably going to go, because they do spend a lot of time on that competition and, the jokey guy who gets in because I don't know.
Because of his heart, dude.
Oh,
he's got heart. Doesn't quit, much like the jokes in the movie.
Yeah, that's right. It is difficult to get comedy drama, comedy romance tone correctly. And I was watching Groundhog Day again yesterday. Murray was desperate to get it more towards the philosophical side, and Ramis was like, no, it's comedy. And you can see there's a bit of a battle in there. But rightly, the comedy had to be the shining light of that film, and the humor. Well, it's Bill Murray. The line where he said, "It's just a few flakes," is one of my favorite, one of the best delivered line of any comedy. He's, obviously he's a genius, and obviously we don't have comedy geniuses in this film.
Right, it's the geography teacher here, Mr. Webster, coming in to do an ad read for Bradley because he's fucking lazy. I mean, I'm not one to throw shade. I just asked my wife. She'd tell you the same. But look, you go to all that trouble to write a book. You put your time and effort, just like I do with my kids in class. I'm trying to get them to believe in the science and the passion that is geography. How big is the fucking moon? They get a lot from that, but I didn't care about that. Look, ad read, right? Momo and Matsu, which is a title that he believes in. I don't care for it myself, but no one asks the geography teacher, do they? Right. He has nothing to live for. She's already dead. Both have everything to lose. That's not bad. I can get my teeth around that. Tokyo, Japan. A high school girl tragically jumps in front of an oncoming passenger train. Thinking the worst is over, train conductor Matsumoto returns home to find the very same girl waiting for him with a smile on her face. Her name, Momo. Now, the most unlikeliest of partners must learn to work together, face a terror beyond imagination, and maybe, just maybe, pass their fucking geography test for fuck's sake, because God knows I'm tired of failing kids. Australia is a continent. Christ! Anyway, fully revised and expanded, Momo and Matsu, the director's cut.
is the definitive version of Bradley Freeman's heartwarming debut novel. New chapters, illustrations, and an all-new opening and ending. It's available in paperback, hardcover, or ebook at a very reasonable price. Which, speaking of reasonable, is more than I can say for Mark fucking Tasker and his geography test. Look, there's a reason he's doing a fucking podcast. It's not because he passed his geography test.
So, The Rock in this film, go.
Look, I think I was a fan of WWE, especially back in the Attitude Era. Yes, I am showing my age. And The Rock was, you could always bank on him for funny shit. But the difference between The Rock as a wrestler and The Rock as an actor is The Rock was able to base his comedic timing and responses on the audience that was surrounding him. You read the audience, you read the crowd, and then you spout stuff out, especially if you've got another wrestler to jump off of, literally. Whereas for the cinema, for the movies, a lot of what he's saying is based on what the screenplay or the director, whoever there is shouting for him to say. Or it's everything I've seen The Rock do in his movies where he is the lead, whether it's the scene he's required to do, the dialogue he's required to say, or the look he's required to give, seems like it's by committee. Mm-hmm. It's based on an algorithm that has told him, if you do this or say this or look this way, you'll get this much more of a box office return or this much more social media followers. Like it all seems based off getting the perfect result, and it's not what the movie needs. You mentioned the comedy. If I can be a bit mean, in my notes, I've got the guy playing Captain Thorpe should have been fired and they should have hired a comedian instead. In fact, all of the actors in this, while they're fine, I'm sure they're good actors, none of them seem to be good comedians. And this movie desperately needed
they don't.
Comedians.
That's right.
And then I've just checked up that the actor who plays Captain Thorpe, his name is Rob Hubel. He is a comedian. So
I think it's a really good point, because when they sat down and someone said, right, Baywatch with The Rock, you can see how that conversation would have happened.
Yeah.
Maybe they started it off as the more drama-y side, and then they went back and they shoehorned the comedy. Like, it's difficult to know where they started, because I agree, none of them are comedians. That's right. I mean, again, Efron has comedic flourishes. I think I'll give him credit. I will definitely give him credit. And the schlubby guy, who isn't schlubby at all, by the way, is trying. Noted
subhuman potential alien John Bass, you mean?
I don't know anything about him. I think he's definitely been brought in as the comedian. He's got comedy chops, but he doesn't, does he? So you wonder what The Rock, who has spoken to The Rock, who said, let's go comedy, who's leaned into that. The Rock looks increasingly, probably literally uncomfortable in his own skin. He doesn't seem to know what version of his shtick he's going to do next. As I said to you before, he's incredible. He's very, very mean in this film at times. Horribly mean.
Some of the lines that I've got him saying are, and they're all directed towards Efron, princess, mermaid, mangina.
Mangina? Yeah, what the fuck?
I'm paraphrasing, but I remember talking to someone who was quite a scholar of comedy years ago, who loved comedy, loved stand-up, had read a lot of books based on famous comedians and late-night hosts. He knew his stuff. He said that the lowest form of comedy is when a character or someone mentions a title. So, like, for example, if you're eating a burger and I say something like, slow down there, Jaws.
Right.
Like that, just quoting a title or quoting something is not a joke. So all throughout this movie, Dwayne Johnson's character, Mitch Buchanan, says stuff like, come over here, McSteamy. That is his only arsenal. Throughout the movie, constantly say that type of joke.
Yeah.
It's interesting because in the bloopers, sorry, air quotes again, the bloopers at the end of the movie, there's a cut scene where Efron climbs a fence and The Rock just steamrolls through it. And Efron says, like, how'd you do that? And The Rock, clearly ad-libbing, just says, I'm really fucking strong. That comes across as a real response.
Yeah.
Number one, it's not funny.
No.
But number two, that I'm guessing is The Rock's range.
Yeah, and he even says he calls him High School Musical, doesn't he, at one point? So everyone in the audience is like, it's a curious, and then yeah, you've got the aforementioned like dick erection joke, and it's just, again, it's really uncomfortable to watch. And then he goes into action rock, and I was thinking about, action rock.
You mean CGI green screen set boat with CGI flames? None of them are on the ocean for this entire action sequence.
Yeah, and retrospectively, the original series gets a lot more kudos because, obviously they couldn't really do that, and they managed really well with what they had, whereas here they've got a lot more and they manage it really badly. But, he goes into his, as I say, earnest shtick, and he's into his earnest shtick, and he, obviously there's the bit where he gets fired, and the beats of it make sense. Like, you can see the reason for him being fired, whatever. But I just watch him, and you say it, you've probably thought about it a bit more than I have, but why he's turned into what he's turned into. How many of these lines was Rock insistent about using? How many times did he say no to things? How many times did he say, right, now I need to be nice to a child? Now, if you compare that to Arnie, you always felt, and Arnie's an interesting character. I read his biography, actually. He's a very interesting character. He always seemed to know what was best for the film, especially during his golden time. He always trusted that he wasn't a writer, and he always trusted that this is the thing I do, and I'm going to trust them to get as much of the thing I'm good at to the front of the film as possible. You really feel that. And if you go back and watch those films, you really don't feel there's a lot of him insisting. Stallone is a bit different, but with Arnie, you really don't feel that he's trying to force himself. Whereas with The Rock, I don't know what's happened, but it feels, as you say, like there are way too many hands involved. He's got this image of himself. People have got this image of him. And it just makes every film he's in very difficult to watch now. I find it a very weird experience watching him. He feels like an AI.
Well, we're seeing a personality that is trying to hit all the bases instead of clearly hitting one.
Yeah, absolutely.
But look, to get this back on track, something that I noticed just going through my notes here, the villain, and again, love the villain, she disappears for a solid 25 minutes.
Yeah, she does, yeah.
I mean, that's where the film died yet again for me. But
yeah,
let me talk about, I'm going to butcher her name. So Ilfinish Hadida, maybe? She's playing the Stephanie Holding character, which presumably is Dwayne Johnson's right-hand woman on the Baywatch team.
The one that he awkwardly kisses.
She was doing a great job. I liked the lines that she was giving and the authorities she was projecting. But by the end of the movie, I realized, well, what the fuck did she do? She didn't really get any comedic scenes.
No, she
like,
didn't.
For example, the CJ Parker character mixing with the Ronnie character. There's all that, like the dick in the bench scene. Alexandria Daddario, with Matt Brody. They've got scenes. Everyone starts pairing off. But poor Stephanie Holden, her character is a non-event. There's the one kissing scene. They kiss, The Rock says a joke, and then they cut away, and that's it. She never mentions it again. He doesn't mention it.
No.
And then for the rest of the movie, she is there, but doesn't really do anything. And I was just checking the backstory for the movie on the internet. When she was announced as The Rock's love interest. And I read an Instagram post where he's like, she's going to be my love interest. She's as tall as me. She's cool, all this kind of stuff. So the character was written to be the love interest. That's nowhere in the movie at all.
Oh, interesting.
Which is fine. I'm glad this character doesn't have to be a love interest. That's awesome. Look, regardless, it took place or it didn't, cutting room floor or not, that character has nothing to do. Even when the film is making mistakes, it's making mistakes on a different level.
It's a really interesting point. And so you may have avenues that I don't have into this kind of thing. Why has that been changed? And there's a lot of these things, we've talked about it, we'll probably endlessly talk about it, in modern movies or modernish movies. Things seem to get changed, moved around, rewritten, blah, blah, blah. And I get that, whatever. It's fine. I watched, you didn't actually ask me what I've been watching recently, Brad.
Oh, man.
The mates are going to be gutted. They've missed that bit. But I actually watched...
Sorry, mates.
Paddington 2.
Christ, that's so weird. I'm just about to watch the first one.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's good stuff. I'm sure the boys will love it. It is very, very coherent. It doesn't feel like it's been rewritten many times. And that is a big compliment. It feels like... I'm sure there were things, but it feels like everyone trusted everyone to do their jobs. I'll see if you agree on that, but that's how I feel. It's very predictable, but very charming, and that's enough.
I've heard that about that. A lot of people say Paddington 2 is one of the best family movies out in the last couple of years.
Predictable and charming. The balance of it is really good. Hugh Grant, and it's really good, blah, 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 blah. But again, I may be wrong, and I'm not going to look into it because why would I do research? But it feels like a film that knows exactly what it was going to be from inception to the end. Whereas this, and you've just confirmed it with your little tittle tattle, it really does feel like it's been monkeyed with many, many, many times. Why doesn't The Rock have love interests? Maybe he's asexual. He seems to be portraying himself kind of so. I don't care. That's fine. I don't need to have love interests. They often feel very forced anyway. But it does feel like that's what she was going to be. You can see it. You can see there are scenes where, no, fuck that. And the kiss scene, as you say, the editing of it, and the pacing of that sequence is fucking weird. It's literally like he's kissing his sister.
Yeah, in the film as it is, there's a lot of respect between the two characters. So the kiss, it seemed like, because they're trying to be quasi-cops, I got the impression, brother and sister, you said it exactly. Yeah.
The other two characters are sort of engaging in a, the Daddario and Efron, will they, won't they? Fine. Slightly undercut by the first thing she says, where you're hot, I'm hot, you're gonna put a baby. That was like, ooh. And it doesn't really match her character, and it doesn't really match the way she is in the rest of the film. Again, it feels to me like that was added way later. Like, well, put that up front. There's a lot of that. And not that I'm ever going to watch it again, but if I did, I bet I could pick a lot of sentences where it was obviously written later because it doesn't follow on to who the character is at all. Again, maybe they thought, well, no one will be talking about this for 2 hours on a podcast, and maybe they thought it's throwaway. But throwaway needs to be cohesive and coherent, and this isn't at all. I mentioned to you earlier, I have talked a little about body shaming, and I said to you before we started, there's the scene where Schlubby man, they're in the shower and he's like, right, we're going to have lunch. So she looks at his apparently large penis, and then she says, oh yeah, we're having lunch now. You can have whatever you want. I'm like, okay, it's a bit weird. Then it goes on. Oh, okay. Well, I'll have a little. It goes on, and then they go and actually sit and have. And I'm like, what is happening here? And then he orders the salad, but hang on a minute, the others are eating normal human food. Well, what's going on? And then he actually says, like, we gotta say it, we can't just hint it. Oh, I thought people like you would eat, I didn't know you'd eat normal food. I'm like, what? No payoff at all, just like that's the end of that. What a weird thing to spend time on. And as I said to you, it feels like there's an in comment there about body image and gym culture and what people are having to do to get the bodies they've got. And it's like a weird little riposte. Who put that in there?
I guarantee it wasn't the same person throughout the script, because later on there's a joke from Zac Efron where, The Rock's been fired, and he makes a voice message. He's like, I hope you're okay. I hope you're not doing something stupid like eating carbs.
Exactly.
Which cuts to The Rock with looking all humdrum with a plate full of, I think, mashed potatoes.
There's that weird body shaming relationship with the police officer. You're looking big. Well, not that big or whatever. I haven't made a note of it, but
skinny legs or something. Yeah.
The fuck, and he looks so upset about it. Oh my god, that's fucking awful. And there's obviously the big guy ends up having sex with the good looking blonde woman, which and then she loves his tummy. That's it, mostly in the end blooper reel, which we're not going to talk about, but it's excruciating. But as you say, it feels like that whole little weird bit has been put in by someone's gone, hang on a minute.
Well, this allows us to move into our next section, which is, why do you think they made the story changes they did? Mm-hmm. Of course, it's based on the show. So they're building a lot of the framework around everyone's cheesy perception of the show. But to answer your question about why are these scenes in there and why is it so haphazard and all over the place, modern comedy has this catch-all thing where there's a lot of jokes in there. When they're doing it, when they're editing, or when they're shooting, the excuse is always, well, it's a comedy. Oh, let's go for it in the editing room. And they just go through multiple takes. They go through whatever they can. They mix and match the placing of scenes. This movie is quite indicative of what a Hollywood studio presumes to be a surefire hit in terms of comedy. It doesn't work.
The more I read about how AI is involved in scripts now and how obviously people are concerned about it, and I understand why they're concerned about it. So whether or not that'll continue, I don't know. Whether they'll learn lessons. I mean, this summer has been bomb after bomb after bomb. So if they are using it, ain't fucking working, is it?
Which leads us to our final section. Rejoice! For the end is in sight. What scenes or changes would have elevated this movie?
If you're making it a comedy, let's have a beach versus beach. Let's do the thing they used to do that was fun and throwaway in the 80s. And again, Police Academy gets a lot of shit, but it knew what it was.
What was that period of early 80s movies? It was like rich people versus slobs.
Right, right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because the rich people it's easy to make jokes for. So if you've got a movie full of incredibly gorgeous individuals, then I suppose the bad guys would be, I don't know, yuppies, if it's even still a bad guy thing, or property developers, or
like I said, you've got the police chief there. So let's make him an officious pencil pusher who, whatever, is being bribed by someone, and it turns out he's only in it for himself. There you go. Easy. And even with those actors who lean slightly comedic but aren't really comedians, fine. You don't need to have that first borderline upsetting first sequence of just weird insults and dick jokes. We could have one and then move on, Porky's or whatever. I'm not American Pie is an example. It's not my kind of film, but it definitely knew what its audience was, and it definitely got the balance pretty fucking good. I'll give it credit. I'm not a fan, but I can see why people related to it. So there are loads and loads and loads of examples of when that's worked, and with those actors. Why didn't you just do that?
I'm surprised there wasn't more scenes. Is it the hut, the hatch? What is that thing that they're in on the beach? The shed?
I don't know.
The wooden thing. I was surprised there wasn't more actual scenes taking place in there.
Almost none.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah. Based on this framework, something I would suggest is instead of The Rock being fired, I would have, and would never happen, but I would actually have The Rock get killed off. What happens after he gets fired? He disappears for 17 minutes of the movie as well. And I'm tired of these movies making these easy jokes where it's like, well, they got fired or they can't do the thing that they're good at. So now they work at Best Buy or Bed Bath & Beyond. Yeah. And they're wearing that polo shirt and those chino pants. And isn't this funny? No, it's weirdly insulting to people who do work in retail.
Oh,
it's
absolutely. I think it all the time. Yeah, absolutely. You could have, the same thing, put him in hospital until the end of the film if you don't want to kill him off.
They did that in the Fast and the Furious 7 because The Rock's filming schedule was so crazy I think he was doing Hercules or other movies at the time. He couldn't do that 7th movie because they rushed production. They had it's not genius, but they had the smart idea let's have him in a fight at the beginning with Statham.
Yeah.
He gets blown out a window and he's in a hospital bed until the last 10 minutes. And that works because in this movie, The Rock disappears and the team, they make a plan. They do the thing. They find the bad guy. They actually succeed in what they're doing without him. And then there's that scene where Daddario swims down and gives him a kiss. It turns out to be The Rock. That could have been her, and it would have been fine. Brody's arc, he apologizes for the wrong reasons. When he quote unquote fucks up and he goes to Mitch on the beach and says, I have fucked up, he's apologizing for the wrong reasons. And he wants to be part of the team for the wrong reasons because he doesn't address the issue within himself, isn't accountable for it, and isn't clear about why he wants this thing in the first place.
No, I can't believe they fucked up his arc. Weird.
That arc is really fucking simple. It's so simple. They fucking do it in those Neighbors movies.
Yeah, I know.
He's a real asshole in the first one. And then he kind of sort of learns to be less of an asshole. And it's let's call it the "oh, I fucked up" scene. The "oh, I fucked up" scene has been done since time began, and it'll keep being done. And this movie fucks up the "oh, I fucked up" scene.
Yep.
And it's just so. Anyway, let's not pick any more meat off this corpse.
Writing by committee, too many hands on the till, changing things as you go along, not having seemingly a stable script, or reworking things, or it doesn't fucking work. It's never fucking worked. So can we stop doing it?
I reckon if there was a script, it was in progress while they were filming. And if they did have a table read, sure as hell, whatever they read at that table was not what they filmed and was not what they edited.
I'd love to have seen their faces when they sat and watched the premiere. They're probably just like, oh, it's unpleasant. The conception of it, the way it's delivered, especially the first half an hour, I really found it unpleasant.
And that, mates, is as perfect a segue as it's going to be. Thank you very much for joining us for our episode on Baywatch. Now, again, look, we're just two idiots, and we've clearly stated that our comedic understanding, leanings, fandom is skewed at best. So Hey, if you love Baywatch in the first place, more power to you. I would really like to meet a Baywatch fan, someone of the TV show, someone who watched Baywatch and Baywatch Nights.
Baywatch Nights.
Yeah. Whatever other spin-offs there were. And I'd be like, yo, do you like the movie? Yeah, because it's one thing if you're a fan of the show, like, for example, Star Trek. You love Star Trek. It's pretty easy to love the movies, especially if it's the same crew from whatever series you're watching. But do the Baywatch fans, do they love the movie? I'm curious. We cannot end this episode without talking about the opening credit, the on-screen credits. Pamela Anderson as CJ Parker. She gets a big-ass credit on screen. She's in the movie for 15 seconds and doesn't say a word. Wow, her agent deserves a pay raise. Big CGI title in the beginning of the movie, like Pamela Anderson. And she's at the end and doesn't speak. Wow.
No, it's true. From a business point of view, I mean, it was...
Wow.
Obviously, the Hasselhoff cameo is cringe.
But he's in the movie twice with a speaking role.
First one, I didn't love it, but I thought it kind of, all right, that's fine. But to then have him come back and then it's a bit meta. Is it meta? I think it is.
It is meta. Yep.
Yeah.
At the end of the movie, The Rock is sitting in a beach chair as The Rock and not as Mitch Buchanan. And David Hasselhoff is sitting there as David Hasselhoff talking about how he was Mitch Buchanan. The movie by that point, it's just like, fuck it, which is how we feel about that movie in general. Thank you very much, mates, for joining us. We always love having you with us.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks.
Have a blessed day.
Next episode. Yeah, I know. This Baywatch maybe didn't really fit our mission brief. I mean, we're focusing on meh movies, right? And Baywatch certainly was not it. But next episode, we are doing one of the mehhiest meh movies to ever meh the high seas, or in this case, the skies. Yes, we're talking about the 2023 action vehicle Plane, starring Gerard Butler and Mike Coulter. You ever have one of those movies or books or whatever where you go in blind? Like you know the title, and that's pretty much it. This was exactly that movie for me. I just knew the title, Plane. So I had the assumption, okay, Plane. And I went in, and that movie takes a turn. Have a listen.
To be honest, not knowing much about aviation, but what he did his job. Like I didn't really get why the guy was being lauded as the world's greatest hero. I'm like, he did his job and he wasn't even very high up. Wow, if that guy's being lauded as a hero, if there's any kind of accident in the sky, we are dead immediately because they were like 20 meters up. I'm like, I've seen Indy land in a bloody inflatable from 100. That guy, if that's the benchmark, then maybe we shouldn't be flying.
Gonna be a good time, I promise. Until then, as always, mates, grab a slice. Written Off is hosted by me, Bradley Freeman, and Mark Tasker. It's produced by the both of us, and it's edited by me. Our theme music is by Skane, and our artwork is by Sketchfro. This has been a Pugnacious Podcast production. Finished watching Plane, by the way. So.
Oh yeah, did you enjoy that?
It's like the equivalent of toast that's been cooked on like the number 2 setting. It's like, yep, that is mildly burnt white bread.
The number of hostages seems to increase and decrease randomly, depending on. There's the bit where they line them up and they're like, "Where are you from?" He's like, "I'm British," and there's only about 5 of them. And then in the next scene that you see them, there's like 20 of them.